you can't tell what I was working with earlier, green beans. I actually had, it was about 2.5 gallons worth of green beans that I had stored away. We did eat a 1/2 gallon for dinner, or with dinner, and the rest of it I canned. It looks like I am still kind of having the same problems that I had last year when I started up canning for the year. My jars are breaking. They're always ball jars, I will say. I had one break when I made the canned coleslaw, and then one broke today with it. Now, I can't necessarily advise that you do what I'm about to do, but I have always kept the food out of my jars that break, as long as they break on the bottom like this one did. This is probably due to thermal shock. This is my guess. When I can green beans, I do a raw pack, and I'm really careful about the way that I do it. Actually, these beans were in the fridge, and I left the beans out on the counter for several hours before I even snapped the ends off and put them in jars, and then I filled it with boiling water. The jars were fine at that point. I heated up the canner to about the same temperature, and the jars were fine at that point. And somewhere in the canning process, even though I actually had the canner heating up on a medium, it still broke. But anyways, I tend to just take the top of the jar and then the bottom, put it back together. As long as everything looks like it's present and accounted for, I'm comfortable keeping the food, because I worked hard to grow this. Now, of course, there is some measure of risk with that. Knock on wood, so far it hasn't been a problem. And like I said, there's really no glass missing from the jar. It's quite a clean break when those breaks happen. But again, there's a little bit of risk to that, so don't necessarily follow my lead. So I'm gonna let this cool, and I'll stick it in the fridge, and we'll eat that this week. These ones should be more than fine though, and we've still got a little bit of boiling back here. Isn't that cool? This happens just because the pressure in the jar is different than like atmospheric pressure outside of the jar, and so the boiling point is lower at the pressure inside the jar, which is why you see it bubbling after it comes out of the canner. That's pretty cool. The other jars I like to use are from Arkansas Glass Company. That's what these are. I reuse them very frequently. We buy stuff from the Amish, and a lot of times they actually give these jars away. So yeah, it's been my ball jars that are breaking. And it was a wide mouth ball jar the other day. I don't really understand it, but I guess they're not made like they used to be. Now the sun is going down, and that is a good thing, because today, let's see if I remember where I put it. I was up on the lane dealing with my plants, which equaled the tomatoes as well. And we have tomato hornworms, some big ones that I could see with the naked eye. And so I know there's some that I'm totally missing. And if you are not aware, tomato hornworms glow with the blacklight, and I happen to have a blacklight flashlight. So we're gonna wait maybe, I don't know, I might go out there and see what lights up right now, but it's definitely hornworm hunting season. That beautiful storm over there. Oh, gorgeous. Gotta grab a bucket. Bear, it's not your girl. Hey, buddy. Hey, what are you doing? Margie's discovered the love shack. Farrell's in there with her. So they're cozying up. Today was the first day that I actually had them together. I didn't notice any activity, but it shouldn't be long. She should come back into heat. Here's an example of hornworm damage. You just have these stripped sticks. Oh, I thought that was a hornworm. It's not. The hornworms look like curled up tomato leaves. Look, there's a giant one. Okay, see this guy? Massive, okay? And we can see some of the damage around him. Just this stripped leaf right here. Oh, it's not quite dark enough out yet, but they glow blue. So I gotta wait a couple hours probably. I'm gonna take him now though. Ooh, look at him. Gross. Ugh, ooh, heebie-jeebies. Hey, Marge. Hey, girl. Yeah, I gotta wait a couple hours. It's too bright. She's shaking her tail a little. She doesn't hate your guts, so there is that. He's expecting a bean. Stay off my fence, okay? You're a big dude. Yeah, I don't have enough tomatoes to share those yet. Okay. I'll be back in a couple hours. You go hang out with Margie. You're nosy. Okay. Yeah, I think we're gonna be good because this is probably a foot away from him. Look how big that one is. Yeah. Oh, look. There's another big one right here. It always surprises me that we don't really see super small ones. We just see big ones. There's one here too. Hello and good evening. The chickens were moderately excited about their hornworm treats this morning. They do okay with the first batch of hornworms of the year, and then as they get more and more, it's like they could give or take. I need to try to give them to the turkeys. I bet the turkeys would like them. As you can see, I have some medication in my hands. I have had to treat pigs for respiratory illness before, and it looks like I have to do it again. It's Chloe. We have actually had a decent number of animals that I have treated for respiratory illness this year. Way more than normal, and I'm not sure if there's just something that's going around in certain areas of my farm or what exactly it is. But Chloe's not down. The last pig that I treated was my boar, Kuni that I had several years ago, and he had a fever and he was laying down and he was not getting up, and so he was pretty easy to treat. Chloe's still up and moving, and I don't know if Chloe aspirated the milk that I gave them or what, but she kept coughing and kept coughing, and just out of an abundance of caution, I am going to treat her with oxytetracycline today. Now, I am sure that I'm not going to do a perfect job with this, so don't take this as instructions on what to do. I am actually alone at this exact moment too, and so mainly I just need to make sure I'm out of Lufa's way, because I don't exactly trust Lufa. Hey girl. All right, so ugh, goodness, Lufa. Good girl. Good girl. That's a good girl, Chloe. She stood still, shocked. Good girl. Good. I know. Are you mad? Oh. So like I said, not ideal. There's actually an injector that you can buy that has a hose, and I have wanted one of these, and I need to just get it, because whenever you need to give medication, that's when you really need the things the most, and you don't always have them on hand. It's really nice to have the thing on hand before you absolutely need it. But what you could do is stick the needle in the pig, and they have room to run, and you have room to actually inject the medication, because there's a little bit, you know, slack on the tube. I'm gonna keep watching for her. Right now she's not coughing, so for all I know, she just aspirated milk, but I didn't want to risk our Chloe girl. I've got the medication. And yeah, there's been a lot more respiratory illness going around the farm this year, so better to be safe than sorry. The grain hoppers going by. They're taking the wheat off right now. There's the combine, or the harvester. And that there is called the head. That goes on the front of that harvester. Hey boys, how are y'all feeling? Two boys in the wiener pen here are two of the animals that I just stopped an antibiotic round on. They also got LA200 for 5 days. Really, what I like to use for pneumonia, when I think what I'm dealing with is pneumonia, is Nuflor, but I'm out. However, I did just make an appointment with our vet. I had heard when I established with this vet that the vet sometimes will come out to our farm. It kind of has to be a Goldilocks situation. And so what I did was actually called the office and said, hey, I heard sometimes y'all will come out here. When would that be? I would like to schedule a farm visit because I want help with trimming Chloe's hooves. And I wanted to discuss, you know, the respiratory illness that we've had in our animals. I did have to put a baby goat down, and we'll talk about that in just a second. But I also wanted to talk to the vet about Frenzy. Frenzy is our 90% La Mancha, mini La Mancha, right here, being dramatic. This is just Frenzy's personality. She's totally fine, I promise. But yeah, Frenzy, when she kidded this year, she had that beautiful little girl right there. She had a real big hematoma of her vulva after birth, and I never did figure out exactly what happened. I have watched and rewatched that footage from her kidding to try to figure out what went wrong and when the hematoma really started to grow, and I still don't really know. But I want to get the vet's take on whether or not it's smart to breed Frenzy ever again. Because what ended up happening with that hematoma is that it got big. I had showed it on the channel before, and I'll put in a little bit of B-roll here about what that looked like. And I knew that the body would resorb those kinds of things, and so I just left it and I left it and I left it. It seemed to be on an area of her body that she doesn't usually, you know, sit on. The goats are not like dogs. They don't sit like dogs very frequently. And so yeah, I just let her go with it. It shrunk up some, but not a lot. And she actually developed this really thin spot on her vulva, and I watched that and watched that and watched that until it actually broke open. And I was able to express out the entirety of that clot, and it was a lot. And so I was thinking, okay, so if what a hematoma is a broken blood vessel underneath the skin. This was a lot of blood, so I can only imagine that this would have been a lot of bleeding if it had broken through the skin. And because the clot actually did work its way through the skin, is there now like a weak spot in her skin where this could happen again in the future, and maybe her next kidding she's gonna bleed out. Breeding Frenzy is not worth risking that at all. Even though she's a very young doe, she's 1 year old, this was her first kidding this year, I won't risk her just to get a productive life out of her. We have plenty of other animals that can like pick up the slack. So one of the things I really love about a dairy goat herd is when things go wrong, there's a lot of animals to kind of help make up for the shortcomings of some other animals. So that's really the main thing I really want to talk to the vet about. I want Frenzy to get a good once over and get the vet's opinion on whether or not she should be bred again. There's not a lot out there on the internet about these kind of vulvular hematomas. I've seen some papers regarding humans, and in humans there's not even enough cases that happen, and even fewer cases where these women go on to have second babies to really tell what to expect out of this situation. So she might not have a lot to tell me, but all of that to say, the vet's office said they don't actually come out this way. And so we do not have any hope of a vet coming out to assist us with anything ever, because if I can't even schedule them on a time that's convenient for them, when I need them, it's always an inconvenient time. They're not gonna be able to come out. So anyway, I made an appointment to bring Frenzy in this coming Thursday. So it'll be on next week's vlog when we talk about how that went. And in bringing Frenzy in, hopefully I'll be able to purchase some more medication to have on hand, some more whole bottles of medication to have on hand. And I would like to talk to her about developing some kind of relationship or some kind of fee schedule for me to call or text with questions and get them answered instead of always having to bring an animal in. I know that that's a very special, close relationship to a vet, that a lot of like larger producers get that kind of luxury. I'm just gonna ask. I mean, it can't hurt to ask. I know I'll at least be able to get larger bottles of medication and instructions about how to give them when they are needed. I know that medications like penicillin can be a little bit hard to come by. I'm gonna see if I can get some of that. I'm gonna see if I can get some more new floor and just kind of talk her ear off about some of the things that have gone on. So again, about the baby goat that we had to put down. This was the same week that we had to put down 2 rabbits that got tangled up in the hay, 2 baby rabbits that got tangled up in their nest box hay. That hasn't happened since then. Like I said, it never happened before, and at this point it's not happened since. I think it was just a series of freak accidents. I don't really know. But we had a baby goat in the wiener pen. His name was Plutarch. He was one of the bucks out of Melee, and he just all of a sudden started losing weight. He had coccidia like the rest of them, and I treated him for coccidia and he did recover. His stools went back to normal, but he never did gain weight again. In fact, he seemed to keep losing weight. Now, it's not unheard of for a goat, if they have a real bad time with coccidia, to have enough scarring in their gut that their intestines just can't absorb the amount of nutrients that they need. And so after a time when I saw that he really was starting to go downhill, his quality of life was really going downhill, I made the ultimate decision to put him down and do a necropsy here on my farm. And when I did the necropsy, I fully expected to see signs that the coccidia had really ravaged his gut, and I actually didn't see that. It was kind of crazy. I have seen what coccidia can do to a gut. I have seen what enterotoxemia can do to a gut, and his gut looked beautiful. Now, he did have pneumonia, which surprised the heck out of me because I had been taking his temperature. I had been putting him up on the stand to give him some extra food, and he never got a fever. He never sounded congested. He never had any kind of discharge, but his lungs were like splotchy purple, which is what you see when they have pneumonia. One thing that I noticed that I've never ever seen before, and I don't think I can really put pictures of these things here, so I'll put the words for what I saw down below, and I'll put some links in the description box so you can look at these pictures and things. But the lymph nodes on his intestines were huge. It looked like very large beans hanging off of his intestines, and it wasn't fat. We have processed many a meat animal here, and I know what the inside of a goat should look like. I know what goat tallow and goat fat should look like, and this wasn't that. It wasn't, and I was later determined that it was his lymph system was really trying to battle some kind of infection, and I can only assume that he had this pneumonia for a long time. It went undetected because he didn't have any symptoms, and it essentially went systemic. So that's my guess. It made his lymph nodes grow really large. It made him really lose his appetite, and yeah, ultimately he was put down, which is sad, but you know, this is life, right? And so yeah, when I meet with the vet on Thursday, I'm going to be showing her those necropsy pictures and kind of picking her brain about that situation as well, what she thinks, what it was potentially. And there's no real way to know without like a professional necropsy, but I do want to pick her brain on it. So yeah. Hello, Heather from the future here. It is Wednesday, and we're gonna get back to the previous days in just a second, but I was having some issues with my camera. I actually recorded 2 very large garden segments within, it might have been the same day, and neither one of them recorded with sound. One of them happens to be the next vlog clip. So I'm gonna do a little bit of voiceover, and then we'll come back to today and hang out a little bit with the goats. So you'll see Margie is back in the barn. We'll start there. It was on this day that I noticed that Margie was actually in a heat. I never actually did see the deed done, but I saw some evidence, and that's really enough for me. So Margie has been bred. That's very exciting. But another exciting thing is it is greenhouse clean out day. Now, I don't get all of the beds cleaned out today, but I actually got a lot more done than I anticipated getting done. These beds are going to house our fall brassicas, and I wanted to get them cleaned out just so I know that I have enough time to like take my time when it comes to amending them with barn cleanouts and things, and making sure my drip irrigation is working. I do thrive with a deadline, but it's not my favorite thing to be constricted by a deadline, so getting this done today feels really good. So a lot of things I just cleaned out and fed to the turkeys and the chickens, but I did manage to harvest some of the onions that were actually left in from last year. I did let them go to seed, and the onions actually wound up quite big despite that. We're going to be using these pretty soon. And now we can fast forward to Father's Day. I actually did have the sound working on the video this day, but it was a video that I had planned to do a voiceover on. So here I am. We've got the onions from the greenhouse clean out, and I really wanted to have green bean casserole with the goat steaks that we were cooking up tonight. One of the main components of green bean casserole is the fried onions on top. I haven't purchased French's fried onions in a very long time. Not that I don't, agree with them or anything, but I just didn't have them. And I just harvested the onions from the greenhouse, so I figured, hey, what a perfect opportunity to make my own French fried onions. So I've got some lard from our 2023 pigs in the pan. I think what I'm gonna do is post the recipe down in the description box and put myself in a little bit of a montage mode. Today I have a project that I should do it probably more often, but it's been about 10 days since I washed the hoses for my milker. This is the air hose. It still gets a little bit like humid inside, so I like to wash this. Normally I will use the milker itself to run first clear cool water through, and then warm soapy water, and then an acid wash. I use a phosphoric acid rinse at the very end, and that keeps everything a good pH so that bad things can't grow. But at a point the calcium things build up and you really do need to hand wash, like I said, about every week to 10 days. Every week would be best. Really, the most common reason for milk contamination when you machine milk is the machine itself not being very clean. There's a lot of different parts, there's a lot of little crevices where things can sit and fester, and obviously that is not good. So I'm gonna actually take this all apart. Don't worry, it's relatively easy to put back together. And actually, it's probably time for me to order all new hoses. There gets to be a point where the calcium spots and staining just doesn't wash out, and that's when we know we definitely need a new set of hoses. See this on here? I mean, I did just milk, but it's yucky. I fed today's milk to the chickens. So for the most part, it is pretty basic what I do. Over here are the inflations, and I've taken off the hoses that would transport the milk. The hoses that are on it, this is the air hose, and I'm going to leave this on here partially because it's really on there and I haven't been able to get it off. But there's nothing wrong with these hoses at all, so I'm going to focus on cleaning the inflations, cleaning the milk hose, which is this one, and then all the other parts and pieces. Now it's important that I keep the end of the hose in the sink, or we're going to have a bad time. First, cool water. This is going to flush out the milk that's in there. You want to use cool water because warm water will actually start to break down the proteins, and that's going to make them stick more, which is not what we want. And I actually do not have a pipe cleaner or a hose cleaner long enough to get all the way down through the hose, but I find that the most scaling that I have is where the junctions are, that connect these pieces to the other parts. So I focus on scrubbing this. I'm going to switch to warm water now and just Dawn dish soap. Got this end here, this end here, and then I also have the inflations. We'll give everything a good rinse, get all the soap out of there. And then what I like to do at this stage is run straight vinegar through all of this. Now ideally, what I'll do is put this side up so I can trap some of the vinegar in the loop. And then kind of swish it around like that. Now I'm not going to rinse this vinegar out. It's just going to sit in the lines and keep them acidic. Sometimes when I go to milk the girls for the first time after doing a vinegar rinse or even a phosphoric acid rinse, I will get like the tiniest bit of cheese curd in the bucket. Then that's not a problem, but it does happen. It's just the littlest bit of acid and the milk washes it out. So I've got the inflation full of vinegar. I also realize I have a cut on my hand. Okay, now this part can hang to dry. Now we have all the other little parts and pieces that need to go through the same step. We've got our valves here. These guys really have some space where nasty milk can hide. This is the canister that I normally will strain my milk into and then clean the milk machine with. But I just poured a little bit of phosphoric acid in here. You probably can't see it. I use the Blitz dairy rinse. And I'm going to fill this with water and soak all those other pieces in this. It actually takes a lot more vinegar to acidify the water to the same degree that a little bit of phosphoric acid can. I think the gallon jug of phosphoric acid is like $30, which is obviously more expensive than vinegar, but you use so little of it that it doesn't really matter. It's actually cheaper than using vinegar. Last time I did this, I checked the pH with my pH meter just to make sure that I was, adequately soaking things soaking things in an adequate amount of acid. I like to see the pH below 3. This kind of thing isn't necessary to have for machine milking, but I have this already, so it's kind of nice to see where things are at. So yeah, way down. See that, 2.1. So we're plenty acidic. I'm gonna let my parts and pieces soak in here. Realistically, they probably don't have to soak in here very long, but I'll probably leave them until the morning when I put the milk machine back together and milk again. I also don't tend to clean the outside of my milk pail until like hose washing day. I clean the inside of it and the lip really, really well, but this only gets cleaned like every week to 10 days, the outside of it. Of course, the dishes never end, so I've got to move those out of the sink. Probably could have done that before I washed the hoses too. And same idea as everything else. I want there to be acid all over everything. Just got vinegar again. And I'm going to slowly pour it out, rotating. And I do this with the phosphoric acid every day. But today I've got vinegar. There we go. All good for another week. Look at all this lush grass. How you doing, Margie Moo? I think I noticed some milkweed out here and I want to go see. You girls want to come walk with me? See if we've got some milkweed? Oh, there are the boys. Oh, Bear, you're such a gorgeous gentleman. You're related to most of these girls, so don't get too excited. Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what that is. There's a little bit of it here. We'll let that go to seed. That's nice. Oh, don't ruin it, girl. That's why it's still there. You can't reach it. Good grass coming in, Tor. I was telling Levi that I have so few goats out here now. It's about 6 acres that, let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 dairy does. right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, that's a lot for 15 goats. As a general rule of thumb, if you're not going to pasture rotate, you should have about 5 goats per acre of pasture. So our stocking density, I can keep about 30 in this pasture, and I have before. Especially with babies, I have stocked that many. We have about half that now, and it's kind of crazy. So yeah, I told my husband we're gonna have to brush hog this sooner rather than later. I may not brush hog it all down, but we'll definitely give them some like pathways to get around in here so that they don't get lost, especially the babies. I mean, the babies are big. I just did a weight tape on Fable Marie, and she's about 57 pounds. So our little keeper girls are doing well on their weight gain. I've just left them on their mamas, and so that's not surprising. I would like to get them to be at least 80 pounds. 100 pounds would make me super happy, but at least 80 pounds by the time we breed in September. And then I may actually breed them their first year. We'll see. I know the warden is itching to get to work. Wow, there's a lot of clover out here, huh? Hey, handsome. Warden! Did you hear him? With a full mouth, he said, "Meh." Warden, can we see you? It's been a while since I updated on Warden, but he's actually bigger than the Nigees. I still do have 2 Nigees here. I don't know where. Oh, there's Mooch. He's out there. He hasn't gone home with my friend Megan yet, but we still also have Mochi. Mochi, the resident wether. Tori, are you flagging? Huh. I don't know. Look at her teasing those boys. Girl, that's so rude. Uncalled for. All my grass people that know what they're looking at. Is this orchard grass? I know our neighbor said that we had orchard grass out here. Is that what that is? Here's maybe a better look at it. So I'm gonna guess that that's what that is, but I don't really know what I'm talking about. Is it tasty, Elpis? Yeah. Wow, the grass is actually a lot better over here than it is on the other side. They must not frequent this area very much, because my goodness, look at it. It's so tall. If that is orchard grass, I want it to go to seed. Keep trying to catch up to Warden, but he keeps walking ahead. Warden! Hi, buddy, how you doing? This big boy. So, for reference, this is Margie and Farrell, as of like last year in October. And when you see him next to Warden's a February kid for this year. I'm pretty sure February. It might even be March, but he's a lot bigger. He's growing to be a pretty big boy. Farrell's a little jealous. Oh, we're losing Tonka in the long grass. Oh, it's okay, baby. Are you jealous? Yes, you'll get girls too. You will. My friend Corey is actually coming in 2 days to help me ultrasound the girls that should be about 7 or 8 weeks bred, to count babies inside of them. And he's also going to help me take pictures of Farrell for the MDGA virtual show. Farrell is looking so good this year. Frenzy, that's your daddy. Don't get any ideas. Hey, gorgeous boy. Maybe we'll take pictures of Bear too. Yeah, because you're pretty. That's for sure. You coming, Grandma? She says, yeah, I'm coming. Ready to count babies in a couple days. Oh, I'm so excited. It'll be Helicity and Gale. And I will be able to scan Margie when time comes for her. But it's still too early. Frenzy girl, you gotta go. I'm gonna borrow a collar from your sister. No.
She's such a turd. Frenzy? She doesn't have a middle name. Someone suggested Louise for your baby's middle name. That might fit you better. Look, this is what it is. We have to go. Yes, we're going. Was that so bad? Yes, it was horrific. Come on. This is how she walks on a lead. So dramatic. Come on, ma'am. Now, just like brushing your teeth before going to the dentist, if I've got a vet appointment that is kind of scheduled out like this, it's not an emergency, I like to do what I can to make them look nice, trim their feet up. You're all right. Frenzy is hawked in on the back here. It's not great, so if we are able to breed her this fall, I'm going to intentionally breed to a wide set buck. I don't know that this is necessarily from feral, but Red hawks in a little bit too. She's from the same dam line though. So yeah, if we're able to breed Frenzy, Warden is probably going to be her boyfriend because he's nice and wide. See how she pinches in right here? It should be like that, but she's not like that naturally. So that's why Frenzy's not in the virtual show. I basically already know what she needs work on. That for sure. All right, girl, you ready to go? That will fill us in on what we should do about her. Pasture princess or productive member of the herd. Come on, girl. Much better. All right, come on. Up we go. We're gonna get going. I'm gonna leave you on a cliffhanger, and I'll see you guys this Tuesday in the garden, and then we'll talk about her first thing next Friday. Say bye, Frenzy.